here, YouTube will tell us that we are officially live. Yay! There we go.
Yay!
And I think this is muted. Otherwise, we'll get a really terrible, annoying echo in just a second. But welcome, everyone, to QuarnCon. Oh, nope. There we go. Horrible echo.
Mute.
Got it. Ugh, brilliant. There's no way to fix it until it comes up. So
no, or you know that it's gonna make that noise. That's really annoying. Like, I don't want to hear my own voice.
No. Just the once is fine. That's plenty. Yeah. So sorry, everybody. Let's try that again. Welcome to QuarnCon Cubed. We are here this evening with the lovely and talented, and I don't know why I said anyway. Whatever. I get mad at myself for using adjectives like lovely to describe women authors when I introduce them, because I'm like, you need to cut that shit out. I didn't call any of my male interviewees lovely, but the ferocious and talented, the vicious will stab you in the heart whether you want her to or not. Alicia Wanstall-Burke. Yeah, that's who we're here with. And I'm self-censoring for having started with lovely, because I hate that. I don't mean to do that, and I'm mad at myself. So sorry about that. Though you are, of course, a lovely human being.
We have been trained to say such things.
Yeah, we have.
Default.
But I'm trying to untrain myself.
The default. Thank you for having me. I have a very good excuse to wear my shirt. QuarnCon. Thankfully, it arrived literally the day before I left the UK. So
oh my gosh,
that was nice. That actually arrived the day before I went to get on the plane. So
I'm gonna rotate myself further. Let's see if because I feel like I was getting a weird halo from standing underneath the lamp. So now we're looking at different parts, different walls. But I gotta bring my drink with me because hey everybody, Alicia and I are having drinks because we're special.
It's after 10 here in the morning.
Yeah. So and it's definitely 5 o'clock somewhere, Alicia, because where I am, it's 9 p.m.
Time zones are a thing.
Yeah, you're just keeping me from drinking alone, and I really appreciate that.
Anytime.
I thank you. So we've got a lot to cover. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at the questions. And they're all really important burning questions that the public is dying to know.
This is what we need in the content we need in these current uncertain times.
That's right, exactly. Is basically light fluff about like random information about all your favorite authors. I will say, Alicia, I went digging through your Facebook photos, as I do for all of the as I've done for all the interviewees so far, who so far have all been actual friends of mine, so that isn't nearly as creepy as it sounds.
Is what we're doing.
Yeah.
StalkerCon.
StalkerCon. Oh no. I'm the only stalker, and I know, and I asked for permission first. But I'm worried as this gets going, because it's like I've got people lined up soon that I'm not as close to as my finalist buddies, and now I'm worried that it's going to start to get awkward as I'm like, did permission to stalk your Facebook account? And they're
that's not weird, is it?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go diving through. But I have to say, I'm a little disappointed because there isn't that much weird stuff in your Facebook photos. There's a lot of cool stuff, but there was nothing like weird. There was not like you making out with a snake, which was Rob Hayes.
I'm just glad that Facebook didn't exist when I was in boarding school, because that is not. Yeah,
that's not a thing you want.
No one needs to see that.
No, that's fair.
And yeah. Facebook basically came out the year that I turned 21, so the weirdest photos that anyone will ever find of me are the photos from my 21st birthday. Nice. And that was a very drunk dress-up party. I think that's about as weird as it got for me. But yeah, I think, and I was in denial for a really long time that I'm never going to have Facebook on my phone. And I have like two accounts, and I have like multiple apps, and I'm basically owned by Facebook at this point.
Oh dear.
Who isn't? every time you turn around, another one of the apps you're using is buy Facebook. And I'm like, awesome. I was trying to pretend that you weren't, but okay.
Well, they weren't until they got popular, and now they are, right? Like,
yeah.
Like Instagram is like, oh yeah, it's Instagram. It's different. It's not Facebook, and now it's owned by Facebook.
No. Yeah. No, I try and hide the weirdness from the world as best I can. I don't know how well I achieve that.
Those are my favorite parts, though. Like the weirdest things I can find are all the things that we have in common. So we're gonna be so I don't think they're weird, but I think other people might, but that's their problem. But those are good. You actually, one of the photos you did have was like was actually a quote of like, the people who don't just tolerate your weirdness but celebrate it with cries of "Me too." Hold on to those people because they are your tribe.
They are your tribe.
Yeah,
that was like a life-changing thing when I realized that there were people like me in the world, and they generally hung out at the Queensland Writers' Centre and at cons. I mean, there's like places where these people go and then they drink together and they talk about books, and that's real. And that was a big lightning rod moment.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever really recovered.
So there's no recovering. There's no recovering from finding out that there are a bunch of nerds who are like you. Yeah, I know, it's so nice. Anyway, so, and like one of my favorite things about our group of 10 finalists is that we have a lot of these fun things in common, not just writing books, but also our various forms of nerdery we share.
Yes,
and I
delightful weirdness.
Yes, it makes me happy. So we're going to talk about a few of those because, you know, I think those things are interesting, and I hope that people watching also find those things interesting. And if they don't, you know, sorry, you're watching, like, what are you doing watching our new nerd convention continued content? Like,
yeah, exactly. In the wrong room.
Yeah, sorry. You might want to go somewhere else. We're going to talk about weapons and role-playing games. And we love it. So actually, the first question I have, though, is actually unrelated to specific nerdery, but is something that I have run into a few times, and I know that you have as well. But it's actually, so it's a more general question, but couched in the terms of, like, visas, I think we both know, are a pain in the butt. Right. Okay, but here's the thing. So I'm offering to you, I am a person capable of granting wishes. I have shown up, and I have a magic wand. And if you could live anywhere in the world without visas or residency hassle or anything, where would it be and why?
As long as I've got unlimited money to travel backwards and forwards, I would literally just go and live in the UK and then come back to Australia every 6 months, because I love both countries, and both halves of my heart are in either one. So I'm kind of split across the entire planet at this point. Yeah. I am currently stuck here until the Australian government opens borders again, because a lot of people aren't aware of this, but they've actually shut the borders for exit. We're not allowed to leave unless we get special permission to leave. And then we have to have a visa I have to have a visa to go back, because of, you know, that I've done, 6 months on a tourist visa and stuff. So I'm just like, they cost so much money, and you've got to pay it up front, and you don't know whether you're going to actually qualify for it. And there's all of these questions that are like form questions, and if your situation doesn't absolutely exactly fit that box that you're trying to go into, it's very, very stressful. But I love, like, I've come back here to Queensland in our winter, and it's 22 degrees during the day, sunny, blue skies, t-shirt, shorts weather. And then in the evenings it gets a little bit cold, and you turn the heater on, put your hoodie on, and you're like, oh, it's winter. It's not. Queensland wouldn't know winter if it came at it with a chainsaw. Whereas I love
frequently does.
Winter in the UK. It's like snow and wind and storms and seas like smashing up against the rocks, and I'm like, yay!
And even that is winter light. Like the UK winters are quite mild compared to anything else in its latitude, actually, because like the UK has that weird little front around it.
What are you doing? There's a small person looking at me.
You have a mini.
Come here, you can come and say hello. Do you want to say hello quickly? You can say hello quickly. Come on. No, come on. Hi. You're just a red dot. Say hi. Okay, off you go. Go find Granny.
We just saw the top.
Okay, go and find her.
I don't need to.
Go and find her, please.
She's in the bush.
Please go and play some Lego or something. Go and play Star Wars Lego.
Can I use my iPad?
Yes. Anything.
Ask Granny.
No, go and play your iPad.
Fine.
I'm a great parent.
That usually the only way I get through these is with device time, so I totally feel you. But
he's outside gardening, so I'm like, that's cool. Bananas and running around killing green ants and stuff because green ants are evil. So, but yeah, no, I did not enjoy Queensland's last summer. When the entire east coast of Australia and some other parts of Australia decided to spontaneously combust.
Yeah, that was a rough time.
Yeah, so I drove through a bushfire to get to the airport that I was flying out of, and I'm just like, I just need to get on this plane and get out of here. I can't cope with this heat anymore, and I'm just, I needed to go somewhere else because it was just too much. So I love the idea of splitting my time between two completely different places, but places that are really actually very similar culturally. Not so much culturally, but like we have the same brands of things. You can go to the supermarket and buy the same brands of food or very similar. Or they've just slightly changed the name because the licensing is different in the UK to here. So, you're getting pretty much the same thing. So it's the transition over there was not difficult at all. I think people thought, you're gonna get super homesick. I'm like, no, not really. I was cool, it's fine.
That's good.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
All right, fair enough. An even 50-50 split. That seems fair. Yeah. The visa thing is just such a pain. It would be nice. Like I'm all for borders just going away and Earth becoming just a like go anywhere you want sort of deal. But only if the entire Earth adopted things like universal healthcare and
because people shouldn't have to. Your bank, the flu doesn't check your bank account before it puts you in hospital.
Right. Exactly.
It's that's not how illness works, which I think some places in the world are finding out very, very quickly at the moment.
Yeah, learning the hard way. It's interesting actually to watch. There have been polls done in the last few months, sort of tracking the American opinion on universal healthcare, and it has the idea has risen in popularity fairly steeply over the last couple of months as people have been like, oh shit, this. Yeah. Here's the thing that I can't do anything to prevent.
I can't stop it. And you can't stop it. I mean, we're pretty sure I got it, but I couldn't get a test because the health system was overwhelmed at that point and they could only test for
people who were dying.
People who were literally being admitted to hospital, and I wasn't at that point yet. So I can only go off my symptoms and the conversations that we had with the health service over the phone led us to believe that yes, I did have it, and I'm still feeling it. Like I still get randomly exhausted. I still have a kind of this weird crackly chest every now and then. It's not fun. There was a couple of probably a good scary 24 hours to 48 hours in there that I was really quite unwell.
I remember telling you, like, you came on the chat and we were all like, Alicia, maybe you should go to the hospital. And
I'm like, I'm fine.
It's gonna be okay. We're like, but you just said you can't breathe very well, and breathing's important.
Turns out it is important.
Yeah. Who knew?
I couldn't smell basil, and I'm like literally got my face like shoved into a basil plant, and I'm like, I should be able to smell this, and I couldn't smell it, and I've never lost my sense of smell before, like ever. And that was when I was like, oh shit. This isn't just some random cold that I've caught at the shops. I mean, I don't even go outside. I don't like going outside because there's people, and I just it was really unfair.
It's really unfair that
it's really unfair that somebody who doesn't like going outside caught stupid virus.
Oh yeah, that's pretty unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? We like to think like, oh well, I've been a hermit, you know, most of my life, and especially now, and like that should protect me, but turns out, yeah.
Well, it takes is like one little journey.
Yeah.
Straight up your nose.
Meh. Yeah. On a different note, though, topic change. Question number 2, which of course, you know, everyone is dying to know, not just me. How many weapons do you own?
I really only have the bow.
Really?
My compound bow, my hunting bow.
Yeah.
I have a LARP sword. I mean, I could kind of mildly bludgeon someone to death with it if I tried really hard. I'd have to try really, really hard though.
No daggers? No daggers, no knives?
No, my mom she went to Cairo just like a week before I launched Blood of Airs, and she sends me this photo, and she's at this market somewhere in Jordan or Egypt or somewhere, and she's like, look at these knives. I'm like, Mom, don't send me that, because there's like this perfect knife,
right,
that just like Blyden's knives and even look like the knives on the front of the book, like with the curve.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing this to me?
I want to own that.
Bring it home. She's like, oh no, they'll take it off me in customs. I'm like,
yeah,
who cares? Just try. Just try anyway. So no.
Shove it into a boot.
Sadly, no. I was trying to. I said to Graham, if I won Spiffbo, could I get a sword? Because he's got like this big bearded axe.
I've seen the axe.
It's a replica one. It's blunt as anything. Like it's you could kill someone with a spoon quicker than you could kill someone with that. But it's beautiful, and we want to get like a sword for me, and then mount them on the wall somewhere somehow.
Nice. Create your own family
like a thing. And
but
no, Queen Miracle took that crown. But she's got like the most amazing weapons, like just like that blue katana.
Yes,
she's got.
Yes,
I would totally rob her for that.
Wasn't that one of the ones she had to send out to?
It was going to be a prize, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know if she has it anymore. Although maybe she does. I don't know. I can't remember if she's mailed them yet.
Sure.
But that was awesome. She owns a couple of her own.
Yeah.
Actually, and I think maybe she was only going to mail off 2 of the 3, so maybe she kept the blue one.
I think she was thinking of keeping one of them.
Yeah, I hope she did, because I want to see it again.
When I shipped my bow, they were like, we're sorry, we cannot carry this package. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a sporting bow, like it's a hunting bow.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, it's because you're trying to ship a sword and a crossbow. I'm like, I wish I was trying to ship a sword. Are you kidding me? I don't own either of those 2 things. It's a hunting bow. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll ship the bow, but we're not going to ship the arrows. I'm like, why? Do you think that someone is going to get into the box and then into the case and then actually be able to get the bow out and like draw it properly and shoot someone with it, like in baggage handling or something, like in an airport? I don't know. It was because it wasn't going with me. It wasn't going with like
right.
I was shipping it, and it was just an absolute nightmare. And because I had addressed it to Graham, because it was supposed to get there before I got there.
Right.
They charged us VAT because they reckoned I was selling it to him. No, I own it. It's mine. I'm just moving it from one place to another.
And now you have to pay tax on it. Ugh, I hate that.
So there's apparently a thing that we've got to do to get that back. But it's a form.
That's obnoxious.
Yep, it is. So I'm sadly weaponless, or less armed than I would like to be.
I'm sorry.
But I'd like to. Maybe I'll. I'm gonna do a new tattoo for. I'd always said that I was going to do it when I published the books, and I just never got around to it. So I'm definitely going to do that. But I think when I finish the trilogy, I might get myself some knives.
Nice.
As a survival reward.
Nice.
You did lots of words.
You did. Do it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think you should reward yourself for that effort. I think Murder Rob had a big bottle of Jack Daniels that he had.
He did.
End of writing his current book.
Yeah, for the end of was it even the rewrite? Was it the end of the revision? Like he's done that book, I think.
The Magnus one. I thought it was the Magnus one.
Yeah, I think it was the rewrite of March of Magnus.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I don't think or maybe it was the first draft. I can't recall. At any rate.
Yeah. We talk such rubbish in our chat that I'm like, I don't know, someone's writing something.
Yeah, exactly. what are the chances that
shocking
10 authors?
And we actually every now and then do some writing.
Every now and again. And then we take some time off.
Yeah.
But
unless you're Rob Hayes, in which case you don't know how to hit the off button.
Hey, be fair to Rob Hayes. I think he actually was not writing anything while he was going through all the publishing of the 3 books in a row.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
I think he was taking some time off there. Time off. He was working his butt off launching 3 books, but he was not, I don't think he was writing.
That's actually crazy. Love you, Rob.
Love you, Rob.
Love you, Rob.
I wonder if Rob's there. I wonder, let's see.
Please don't.
We have people. We've got
people. I don't even know if there's comments or anything coming up.
There are, so far the comments are, we've got Misty, who comes to everything. Hi, Misty.
Hi.
How are you? We've got Amanda, who's there. Hey, Amanda. And we have a few other people watching, apparently, but they are not commenting as of yet. So, and no questions yet.
That's cool. That's cool.
But Amanda did say that your son was adorable.
He's pretty cute.
Yeah.
He's a little bit mental, but he's mine, so that kind of stands to reason.
That scans.
You know, loves his Lego, loves his Star Wars, which we just started watching The Mandalorian with him. I've already seen it, but we're watching it with him and my parents, and they were like, "Oh, we thought it was a movie," and I'm like, "No, it's a series." And Adrian's obviously completely obsessed with Baby Yoda. And we've already ordered his birthday present Lego because massive Lego fans as a family. So he's got my Millennium Falcon that he's playing with at the moment.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Don't say what his birthday present is here though, because he'll watch this, right?
Well, he already knows. He chose it.
Oh, okay.
So it's the ATST Walker from The Mandalorian. So
cool.
From that battle. So
he
picked that as well. You can't let anyone else get it for you. So don't ask for it from anyone else. And I'll check with his dad. I'm like, you haven't bought this for him yet, have you? And he's like, no, I haven't bought it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get it. That's it. Bagsed it. Dibs. That's it.
Called it. I've got this one.
I doubt anyone else would get it for him because it's disgustingly expensive. But
Lego has gotten so expensive.
It has, but he is such a sets kid. Like he will make the set and then he will play with it. And he'll do slight modifications, but he's not the kind of kid that you make the set and then it just breaks apart and he just leaves it and it's destroyed. He loves the sets and he puts them all together and then he plays with them. And he's built an indoor forest out of just random bits and he's made a river and he's got, Luke Skywalker and some people running through the trees and stuff. And the worlds that he builds are just, he's my kid. Yeah. That's never ever been up for dispute. So yeah, he's cute as.
That's awesome. That's fun. Lego are great toys. And I don't entirely begrudge them being expensive, except for the fact that they're still just little plastic blocks. The amount that they're charging compared to the cost of the materials.
Yeah.
Seems excessive, although there's got to be a fair bit of time that goes into designing the kits and actually building them and then writing out all the directions.
The one that
and by image even, right? Because they don't even ever there's never any words, they're always just pictures. So that's gotta take some effort. But I feel like it's probably not $200 worth of effort even for
I would totally go there. That much of a fan. I can't help myself. I think it's because I didn't have Lego when I was a kid. My brother had a lot of Lego, but it was like that's a boys thing and not really girls. And we weren't massive into the sets, like buy this set. And I think that the sets are a lot more popular now, and easily accessible and in a price range like right down to $5 or $10 all the way up to the really big ones.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot better about that. But yeah, I think I'm living out some sort of childhood desire that I never got to have Lego when I was a kid.
That's brilliant. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that I don't still buy Lego because I do. I'm just mildly offended. I'm mildly offended by some of the pricing. I mean, because for a large portion of my life, and like right now, like I can't really afford to buy the really nice Lego sets, you know. But I still. We had a family tradition of Lego at Christmas. That was like we'd do. Our Christmas morning, the very first thing we open is like a little stocking stuffer with a Lego set of some kind. And that lasted into like our 20s. Like we'd still get together as a family and our parents would still buy us Lego.
I got Graham one of those, like he was like a 4-year-old's Lego X-Wing for his stocking stuffer. And he was like, this is the best stocking stuffer ever. And I'm like, yes, it is. And of course I got Lego. I got one of those, the Lego Ideas, like 16 years plus. And it was like the dinosaur, like the skeletons.
Nice.
The T-Rex and the Triceratops and a Pteranodon, and they're so fragile. They're really not to be played with. The Lego Ideas stuff. It's like, and that's like, somebody who's come to Lego with an idea and they've pitched the idea to Lego and then they've run with it and like they've designed it together. So, and they had to work with paleontologists to get it to kind of be accurate. Yeah, it was really cool.
That's really neat.
Loved it. Took me ages because there was like 3 separent builds and it took me ages. It was great. Such a good set.
That's great. Those are so fun. Like I actually love both things. I love sitting down with a set of directions and putting together the thing from the box. I also really love taking a box full of random Lego and just making whatever I want.
Something.
You know? Like, I really, I enjoy both those experiences there. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that we've talked about Lego for a while, I guess we can finally move on to the next question, just so that we actually go through some of them. The truth is we could just sit here talking forever, but I'm going to try to go through the questions.
Yeah.
And this is actually interesting. So we've just discussed some of our own fun personality quirks. But what are some of your favorite? And in fact, I say, what are 3? What are 3 of your favorite character quirks? And they can either be from your own writing or from books that you've read. But like, think of like what quirks that characters have do you just love?
I don't know. I have no idea. I try and write characters that have, you know, like quirky little personalities and stuff, and I feel like it just doesn't work. Like I can't do it. Like I could do it without trying, and if it just kind of organically happened in the background, then that would be cool.
Right.
But if I actually tried, it's like if I tried to be funny, I would not be funny.
Right.
If something's funny in the book, then it's funny by accident. I didn't actually try, because if I try and do something, then I generally I'm not able to do it. So I don't know.
What about characters that you've read?
Honestly, it's been that long since I've read a book, which I think I should hand in my author card, because like I'm reading books because I'm judging for Spiffbo 6.
Oh yeah.
But because I've just been my whole life's just been a complete shitstorm.
Yeah.
I've just really struggled to get into books and to settle into them long enough to actually drop into a character and be immersed. I think the most recent thing I read was the Paternus trilogy by Dirk Ashton. There's some pretty cool characters in there. The gods in that is just the depth of world building that goes into the background of that story is massive. But I couldn't even tell you. I think I'm just too under pressure now.
Okay,
My
sorry.
brain shut down.
That's
It's
fair.
like when someone comes up to you and says, "What's your book about?" And I'm like, people with swords,
characters in it.
There's some monsters. I just like, yeah.
That is totally fair.
Noise in my head right now.
You know what? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna move right along. And if anything comes to you later, you could just like stop us in the middle of another question. Be like, I thought of characters with quirks that I like.
It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'll be waking up going, I thought of good things. Can we messaging you and be like, that's great.
Well, then we'll come in and comment it. No.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, I asked this question. I would probably also be caught off guard by it. This is why, and I apologize because I only sent these questions to you like 40 minutes before we were going to start. And I
was like plastering my face, trying to cover my pimples. And I'm like, oh, look, some questions.
Likewise. I sent that off to you, and then I was like, oh god, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, we like Alicia and I were basically texting each other being like, ah crap, my face broke out last night. You're like, yeah.
I'm still, and I hate wearing makeup, and I'm only doing it to save people the indignity of having to look at it. I haven't worn makeup for any of my other interviews, and I'm only wearing it tonight because otherwise I have some very large and distracting red dots on my face. Yes. And it's one of those things that, like, I was at a party last night and I did not do the same thing. Like I had the same thing. I went to a friend's house for dinner and I didn't dress up at all. I just rocked out in my jeans.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, cool.
And I had I had the same 2 zits that I've covered up, but I was like, I just went to the party and was like, oh, who cares? It's like, you know. But now with my face in front of a camera to go on YouTube, I was like, I'm gonna cover them. And then I covered them and then was like, crap, I have to put foundation everywhere. And then I did that and my mouth disappeared. So then I was like, okay, lipstick. I'm like, and now
once you do that, yeah, your whole face disappears. Hadrian's looking at you like, what have you got on your face?
Yeah, that's
fair. Why do you look like that?
That's like, fair. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. And I didn't even like, you still can't see my eyelashes because I don't actually own mascara. So but like I seriously, yeah. I was amazed. I spent like 20 minutes just looking for the makeup. And this is just left over from the play I was in, which is why this is a horribly not natural, not neutral tone of lip stuff. Like, anyway. Yeah.
It's cool. It works. Does
yeah, it's all good. But all just to cover up some really large and distracting red dots. So what are you gonna do? Okay. Look, this next question is just, it's like really important and it speaks to me on a personal level. You and I seem to have have similar taste in corsetry and wrist bracers. And yes. I'm wondering if you will join me in starting a new fashion trend in which we wear corsets and various pieces of leather armor and belted weapons.
Yes.
Okay.
Do I get like a membership card?
I think that it's, yeah, sure. I mean, we could make membership cards. How about membership armbands or something?
Yeah. I mean, I got there's little leather ones that I got from Worldcon last year, and they're really cute. And I had to put one of those on in quarantine because I was typing and I kept forgetting that I shouldn't use this hand for scrolling. Okay. And so I had to put it on there to kind of, because when I would go to scroll, it would hit the edge of the computer and it would stop me from actually using it. But we found my actual, my hard wrist brace that the cast that they put on me when I had my hand surgery, my second hand surgery, and Hadrian is putting it on and he's like, what's this, Mama? And he's like going around like this. And he's like, what's these silver bits? And I'm like, oh, I painted it to look like Wonder Woman's bracer. And he's like, you what? And I'm like, oh yeah, and you put that dinosaur sticker on it. And he was like, okay. And off he goes with his arm brace.
Yeah.
I don't have enough arm braces. I want more. And then I go looking for them on the internet because I'm Googling something for the book and I'm like, I want it.
If I had unlimited funds, okay, there are a lot of things I would probably do first that are more important. But if I had unlimited funds and thus really, could take care of the important stuff first, eventually I would get to the point where I would spend a lot of money on leather armor that I don't actually need for fighting, but just want to wear because it looks cool. Bracers, maybe some chest pieces, depending.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Belts and things.
Yeah.
Belts.
Ankle bracers, perhaps, things like that. Anyway, and then I would also buy a lot of corsets, and
I need more corsets in my life.
Yeah.
So
you have the corset that you're wearing there's some Facebook pictures of you wearing a crimson corset with the big latch closures on the front. I have the exact same one in a different color. And including with the awesome belt that it comes with that has the zip pouch and the other pouches, like it's exactly the same one, and the same little like shoulder covering.
Yes, I loved that one. And I ended up getting like a dress. There was a dress version of it that I wore, and it was like a mermaid shaped dress.
Ooh.
And then I wanted the corset because that was for my 30th birthday party, and we had a steampunk theme.
Nice.
And I wore this really long skirt because I ended up having to go back into my moon boot. So I actually needed like a walking stick and then my moon boot was like deflating around because it was like pumping up like an Air Jordan, and it's like progressively deflating, but I'm getting drunker as the night goes on, so I can't feel my foot. The next day I'm like, what is wrong with my leg? And it was so swollen because I'd been just walking around, just not, by the end of the night, just like playing Cards Against Humanity in this pub, it dressed up like some weird steampunk queen. And it was, people were looking at me like I'm walking out of the pub and they're like, what's going on? Like, I don't actually know if I've still got that corset. Ooh. I don't know if it's made it through all the moves.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Mom. I'm sure she knows. It'll be somewhere.
Try to find it.
Somewhere. If not.
We should have a corset party. I think we've discussed this before with the other Spitbo finalists, that we would try to all wear corsets, I think. Or at least half. Yeah, I want to see Darian in a corset. I think I would like to see all the male members of our team in a corset.
I agree. I think,
and any of the ladies who would like to wear corsets are welcome to, but I don't feel like, I would try to cajole the guys into it, and less so.
If any, missing out on skirts, I think.
Right?
Like, especially in warm weather. Like, it's breezy and it's cooling, and no one wants to wear pants when it's hot. Like, it's not cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's or at least flowy pants. I actually like, I do love skirts in warm weather sometimes, but I have serious issues with sweaty thighs, and so I will always at least wear some Lycra if I'm wearing.
I've got these pants that I got in Bali, and they're like, I call them elephant pants because they've got like little elephants around them, and I live in those in summer because you don't feel like you're wearing anything, and you're just like, wee. And then someone's like, oh, come over to my house. I'm like, does that mean I have to put actual pants on?
No.
Like actual jeans? Because I don't think I can do that to myself.
Don't do that to yourself.
After wearing all of these flowy nice pants. But yeah, we should totally have a corset party. That would be sick. I love that.
Sweet. Okay, good. I'm glad you're in on that with me.
Yeah.
Because it would just be so much fun.
Yeah.
What's next? Let's see.
I can't remember.
Yes, actually, so the next question relates to, you were talking about your the cast on your wrist after your second surgery.
Yeah.
And so I state with, I think I have a statement that I believe you'll agree with, and we can discuss. Bodies are garbage.
Yes.
In what way has your body betrayed you? In what ways has your body betrayed you in the past decade?
Well, it basically decided that me getting pregnant was the worst thing that I could do to it. And I mean, most people are like, oh, yay, I'm pregnant and I'm glowing and it's all lovely. And I just turned into a walking acne field. And, like my pelvis separated and I couldn't walk by the end of it, and my stomach ran out of room, and so he was premature and all this sort of stuff. And it just, from then on, my body just hated me. And I think I had something like 7 surgeries in 6 years.
Oh God.
some of them related to the birth, some of them related to I had managed to stress myself to the point that my bowel had twisted.
Oh, geez.
And I had to have that fixed. And then my wrist has always been a problem ever since I was little. And we've got scans going back to like 1998 on this hand. And I ended up finally getting to see a hand surgeon in Brisbane. And he's like, cool, yeah, so I've done all these MRIs and thanks for bringing in these scans from 1998 where I can actually see the same problem from your scan in 1998 on your scan now. So it was present then and no one picked it up because it was just a radiologist looking at it going, oh, it looks fine. If it had gone to a hand specialist, he probably would have picked it up. So they needed to fuse a joint in my hand, this down the bottom here. And they took bone shavings out of my right hip for that one. And then about a year after that, I had a ladder collapse underneath me while I was doing Christmas decorations, and I laid my leg back behind me and flattened my ankle out completely and strained all the ligaments in my ankle, bone bruising all through my foot, which then I had surgery to do an arthroscopy on my ankle, and then I was just still getting constant pain. And I went back to see the doctor and he did an MRI and he rang me like on a Sunday and I'm like, oh God, this can't be good. He's like, you need to go straight back into your moon boot because you've got a stress fracture. Your bone bruising is turning into a stress fracture. And that didn't heal itself. So I had to get pins put in that. And then about a year after that, my hand started playing up again because I was writing Legacy, this bad boy, because, you know, it's thicker and heavier and weighs a ton. And I went back to the hand surgeon and he said it hasn't fused. So what they do is they cut both ends of the bone and then they stuff it full of bone fragments to trick it into thinking that you've broken it, and then it will just grow across. Right. And sometimes they can use like cadaver bone, so like donated bone, but it's better to use your own bone because there's no chance of like rejection or anything. Yeah. And so they had to go in, they had to actually drill like a core of bone out of my other hip and then drill a hole through there and then like drop the core in and bolt it back together again. But in doing that, they then cut one of my nerves in the top of my leg. So I can't feel part of the top of my left leg. And I've been on like epilepsy nerve medication since with like chronic pain in my leg. So
Alicia, no.
I know, right? I know. And then amongst that, they were like, oh, by the way, you have serrated polyposis in your bowel and you have to have like colonoscopies every year because otherwise the polyps are going to turn into cancer. And I'm like, bonus! I'm going to drink some more.
Cheers. Cheers. Enjoy that. Holy crap, Alicia. I mean, I asked that question because I knew from our conversations before that like you had gone through a lot. And so I was like, oh yeah, like, well, I'm sure, you know, if I ask Alicia about like how garbage bodies can be, she'll have some stories to tell. But I didn't realize that you would have like even just like in the shortest version possible of like this giant litany of like, well, here's all the ways in which I'm broken.
And my body's just like, hey, what else would you like to fail now? I'm like, nothing, thanks. just stop. Can I just have a year? I think I got through 2019 without having a surgery. Oh no, hey. I had to have a colonoscopy. I think I might have gotten through 12 months now without having to actually go into a hospital and be under a general anesthetic at this point, which is kind of nice.
That's good.
So
congrats.
But yeah, it means that I can't do things like go for a run or exercise like normal people can, or even going for a walk on the beach.
Yeah.
I'll pay for that for like 2 days because my ankle it's stable enough to walk on, but it does not like on uneven ground. So, which is why I end up with like fancy chairs like this. And I've trained myself to use my left hand for my mouse because I can't scroll with this hand.
Right.
And with writing, obviously, as you would know, even just when you're just writing, you're having to scroll backwards and forwards all the time. And what's Amanda writing? Is anything happening on the Blood of Airs sequel? Number 3. Oh, God.
We will
We'll
definitely
get there.
Get there.
But yeah, so I had to kind of retrain myself to do a few things differently. And anyone who's ever broken their dominant arm will know, their dominant hand will know that there are certain challenges to doing normal everyday things to do with personal hygiene that all of a sudden become very, very, very difficult. And that's an entertaining time in your life, having to retrain yourself to do those things.
Yeah.
Whilst also being like in pain and unstable and probably on painkillers and being all like,
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. It was a fun time. I managed to write 2 books.
Yeah, that's good.
So somehow.
One of my favorite trad authors is she has a bunch of issues with both her wrists and hands. And she dictates, well, she actually writing by hand apparently doesn't hurt as much. So she does her first drafts all by hand. And then with her particular condition, I'm sure there are plenty of people for whom that's excruciating. But I can't do that. But then she dictates to edit. So she is reading it aloud and then goes through and does edits on the computer. But and that saves her. But I know there are plenty of people who that would not work for, but
people have suggested that in the past, and I think that my brain just doesn't work. Graham and I talk about this all the time. There's a difference between brain mouth words and brain finger words, and I literally can transfer information from my brain through my hands to a screen in a way that I cannot actually use. Like, I can't actually articulate myself in that same way. So, and I like to listen to music, and sometimes I'm around people where I can't actually just sit there and talk to the computer. Yeah. So I know a lot of people that dictation really works for, and I may end up needing to go down that road later on. But while I can still smash out the words with my hands, the reason why I ended up with the second surgery, I think, was because I was handwriting all my notes at university.
Oh yeah.
And because that's the way that I internalize information.
Right.
But it exacerbated the fact that the fusion hadn't worked.
Right.
And things weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing in there. So I think that kind of just flared it all up, and it just never recovered after that. So handwriting notes, like a couple of notes here and there, is okay. But yeah, that's not, I couldn't write a whole novel by hand these days. I can type it, but I can't handwrite it.
Yeah. I wonder if I could. I mean, there was the first draft of Blade's Edge, I wrote about half of it by hand.
Yeah.
And then typed it up.
I get to a point where I do like heaps of notes, and then I just have to start with the computer.
Yeah.
And then, so I've got all these notebooks where they're like half full of notes.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I've gotten to where everything's formed up in line enough for me to go and actually just get writing, and then I don't go back to the notebook.
Yeah.
So,
but these days I even just brainstorm and write notes on the computer. Like there's very little I do by hand anymore.
Yeah.
And like if I'm out and I have an idea, I write it down in a notebook.
Yeah.
But and sometimes I'll sit down. If I'm problem shooting, I will sometimes sit down and ask a question of a character and then write out their response by hand.
I do that a lot. I did that for stuff for Empire. Yeah. And of course that happens, out 2:00 in the morning when everyone else is asleep, and I've got to turn a light on and sit there and like writing in my book and trying to be quiet, and or I'm doing it on my phone because I'm drunk and I've had an idea and I'm wake up next morning, wow, which Alicia was writing that. That's got no punctuation whatsoever, but it's usable.
Well, that's good. At least it's usable. The number of times that like my middle of the night notes just don't make any sense the next day. You wake up and you have a dream and it's so cool and you write it down and you're like, yeah, this is a great idea, and you go back to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're like
312 bananas.
Yeah.
It's just absolute shit. Yeah.
It's
Every time.
Yeah. So okay, so bodies are garbage.
Yes. They're horrible things.
My body also did not like pregnancy at all. But it wasn't nearly as bad as some people have. And like hearing about your pelvis separating, I know a number of women whom that has happened to, and I felt very fortunate that did not happen to me. Yeah, but I had almost the opposite problem. I could my body did not want to push my daughter out at all, and so I was in labor forever. It was more than 48 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no stopping him.
No.
Yeah.
But I would not volunteer for that experience again. And it even though I got off pretty light, I think there were a number of things that happened to my body during pregnancy that have not corrected yet. Like I have a number of joints that are way looser than they used to be.
Yeah, same.
Often do weird things. And
he's almost 8 and I'm still dealing with things that happen. And I'm like, I take my hat off to people who can do it over and over and over again. And I'm sure that, that's a wonderful thing, but it is not for me.
Yeah.
And I need to focus on the kid that I have. Mm-hmm. And I can't do that if I'm falling apart at the seams.
It's hard, right? It's hard to parent if you can't pick a kid up and you can't.
Yeah, or you're in constant pain.
Yeah.
Like you can't function, you can't think. It's hard enough.
Yeah.
And you can't take anything for it.
Right.
Like that actually works because so much is not able to be it's not safe.
Yeah.
So it's not fun. Not fun at all.
No, I agree. Yeah. So I mean, again, yeah, more power to
Amanda's asked, can we do a whole chat about what pregnancy did to us? Oh wait, yeah, that is definitely a topic. We should do like a panel on that.
Oh my gosh, we could.
Yeah,
I'm in charge of this invention.
Yeah, you can literally
fantasy authors talk about pregnancy and how garbage it is, or how great. I mean, the truth is, I do know a couple of women who absolutely love being pregnant.
Yeah,
and it's just that they have like.
I'm so jelly.
They just have a totally different experience than you or I did, right? Like, but what's weird is like society's impression of pregnancy is that it's like that it's all those women. It's like, oh, everybody's happy and glowing, and you're so delighted to be having a baby. That
I'm like,
you're like, no, really, because the majority of women I've spoken to are like, no, pregnancy is even if it's not awful, even if it's something they're willing to do multiple times, they're still like. They don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's less than 10% of women that I know who have had children that actually liked it.
I don't think
enjoy being pregnant. We're just like,
I think Queen Victoria's opinion of pregnancy was very high. I think she very much enjoyed the first part and really, really disliked the other part. And I mean, in a time and place when you couldn't control how many kids you had, I feel for you, sister. Like, at least I can sort of say that I'm in charge here and I'm going to make the decisions that are working for me. But at
any rate, I'm going to say here's to my IUD. I don't know.
Contraception.
Okay, so Amanda says she also has a story. Yes, Amanda, we can probably talk. And that would be kind of a fun panel to do. And then we could talk about pregnancy in fiction too, because it gets represented very interestingly in a lot of
it's treated.
Yeah. So this is the makings of a pretty cool panel. So we'll keep that in mind.
Let's do a thing.
Let's do a thing. Next question. Oh gosh, I didn't grab him before we started, and now I don't know where he is. So I can't do a. Oh yes, I can. Okay, 1 second.
Do we play elevator music now?
I know that sounded really weird and mysterious, but it's so. I mentioned the Facebook stalking, yes.
Yes.
Do you recognize?
Yes. Is he inside yet? I don't know if he's inside. We found him yesterday in my stuff, and I think it went back into the box because I don't have time at the moment to like put him up on the shelves.
Yeah.
But yes.
So
my friend Ike got me that one and sent him up because I was having a bad time, and she sent him up, and then so she's having a pretty bad time at the moment too, going through cancer treatment. So I sent her like the black version.
Oh.
So we've both got these little cuddle dragons. And I think his name's Skal or Skay. I don't know. It's a Norse name, and I can't remember what it is now.
Oh,
and I feel awful. And I should remember that. He's got a little sword. He's got this little sword that Ike like.
I saw the sword that you attached to the hand.
Yeah.
My daughter and I have, so like I offered her, we were like in a Shoppers Drug Mart, and there was a whole rack of these little guys and a bunch of different ones, right?
Yeah.
And I told her she could pick whichever one she wanted. And she couldn't decide between this little blue dragon and this totally like rainbow pink unicorn.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, we can get both. And then, but we basically, by the time we got home, she said the blue dragon was mine and the pink unicorn was hers. And now like pink unicorn is takes with her everywhere best friend stuffy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like can't sleep without him, that one. And this is my buddy. And so we hang out. And so when I saw you had the same one, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's got like, we'll go to the shop and there's these little Jurassic World things, little figurines, they're called Snap Squads, and they've got like a little thing on the back of their head and they open up and they've got these huge heads and these tiny little bodies. And he's like, okay, mama, so you have to have some and I need to have some because they can't all just be mine. Like we have to play together, that you have to have some and I have to have some. Right. So I always end up with like the parts of his toys so that we can play together. And there was these little How to Train Your Dragon eggs.
Oh yeah.
And you crack them open and there's like this little stuffed dragon inside. It's only about that big. And he gave me one of those, and it was one of Toothless and the White Fury's babies. Oh. And we called it Snowball, and Snowball had to come with me to England when I went over there. Oh. So, and then I brought Snowball back with me. So Snowball travels with me in its little eggie. And I think I've got a baby Stormfly somewhere. Oh. Also, I think still outside in the box, because my parents have just moved here and all my stuff came with them. So we're still in the process of unpacking. I have enough of my stuff out to live with, but I don't have all of my stuff. I'm like, why is there still more boxes in my stuff? Why do I have so much stuff?
How do I own all of this?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why?
No. So yeah, I have lots of weird and wonderful little dragons and pop vinyls, and it's my room suddenly looks more like a child's room because of that. Like it's a weird mix between a grown-up's room with all this technology and computers and things like that, and then stuffed toys, because apparently that's who I am.
That is, I think, just further proof that we are actually the same person, which is in fact the second half of this question, which was, do you think that you are the Australian Virginia, or am I the North American Alicia?
Well, there are many Alicias, so it's possible that you are the North American one. It concerns me that one of them has escaped, because I do try and keep them pretty well contained. I enjoy the idea that there's like a counterbalance thing going on where people actually think that the opposite ends of the planet are the North and South Pole, but it's actually us that's keeping the planet, on balance.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that theory.
Roll with that.
Does that mean did oh my gosh, 2020 is now explained we were both in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's our fault.
From the end of 2019 to now. Yeah. But it does mean that everything should be leveling back out soon.
Go back to normal now, But watch out when I go back up, when I eventually escape and go back to.
I'll just move to Chile. I'll just move to Chile. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. You go south, I'll go north, and then you swap back over, okay? But it's really annoying because like Australia was set up as a penal colony, and it's literally it is one now, and that's what people are like. Oh, when are you going to go back to England? I'm like, I'm not allowed to leave. No one's allowed to leave.
We're not allowed to leave Canada right now either.
Yeah. Like, you're not actually allowed to exit the country unless you have special permission. And I'm like, I've literally just come back, and then I went into germ jail for 2 weeks.
Right.
And I feel like I am truly a convict. Like, that's been my nickname since WorldCon last year. And Graham calls me convict all the time. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And now his kids call me convict, and I'm like, oh god, this thing's got legs now. It's never going away. It's that or the quokka. So, one of the two.
Yeah.
And it actually, this whole country feels like it's just returned to being a penal colony, but nobody knows that they're all stuck here. Like no one wants to travel right now because, the world is a heaving petri dish.
Mm-hmm.
But like nobody is actually aware that even if they wanted to, they couldn't.
Right.
And it's like,
so you get to inform them of that every time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to escape the prison as soon as I can and go back north.
Run away.
Yeah. Prepare for your trip to South America.
Let's just make sure we schedule it, okay? I'm totally happy to do 6 months in South America for you. I'll take one for the team.
Timing is going to be important on that one.
Yeah, let's just make sure we get it right. We do not need a repeat of 2020, so let's just make sure we fix that.
No.
Tell me this really important piece of data. What is the name of the weather app you have that like basically curses at you and makes the weather hilarious?
I think it's What the Forecast.
That's a good name.
Let me check. Where is it? Yeah, WT Forecast.
WT.
So it's like WTF, but then forecast. And let's just see. Let's see.
What do we got now?
Yes, I would like to. Yes. Warm, clear, and stupid.
Warm, clear, and stupid.
Because apparently this is what a winter day looks like where I live.
Yeah, right.
It's 25 degrees. That's disgusting. What is this? That sky should be illegal.
I would really love for you to come visit me in winter here.
Yeah.
Because I think for a few days, I think you would enjoy it. Just for the novelty of it. It is so cold.
It's like the novelty of the rain is going to wear off, and then every time it rained, I was like, "It's raining," and he's like, "What? Why are you so excited?" I'm like, "Because I've grown up in like perpetual drought, where rain is like this special event that we all sit there and watch the rain radar, like, oh, it's coming," and like it's not special there because it just happens all the time.
Yeah. I'll say this, Alicia, I don't think you'll ever lose that because I lived in Arizona from basically shortly after I was born until I was about 7. And then I lived there again later in life. At any rate, not that many years of my life, but enough that rain is still one of my favorite things. I still think it's super cool. And I've lived in a bunch of places where it rains a ton. And I still think it's awesome. I still just love rain.
That's just going to be me forever, I think. And because this house has a tin roof, like a lot of Queensland houses do. So it's like rain. You can hear the rain when it comes. It's so loud. But the houses in the UK, because they're like the slate tile roofs, you only really hear it unless it's going up against the window. And even then it's like a triple double glazed window or something, fandangled window. So
places that need insulation.
You can't really hear the rain there. But here, I mean, it just started raining randomly one day when we were eating dinner the other night, and we're all just sitting there, and all of a sudden it just felt like someone had just turned the hose on the roof, and we were all like, what was that? And we've just moved from a town where we would literally stand in the front of our house and watch the rain go past. And be like, And then you'd be out the back and you'd watch it go past to the north, and you'd be like,
missed us.
oh, what's you, grass? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, someone was getting the rain, but yeah, but here it's like, oh gosh, it actually rained. We actually got rain. The grass is green. Yeah. It's really, it's very different, but I love it. And I hope that novelty never wears off, because I just love rain.
Yeah, it's lovely. I certainly, 30 years later, still love rain.
That's good. I hope. I live in hope.
And yeah, I did love that about Arizona. I think maybe it's the thing about the desert in general, because even when I lived in the more mountainous parts of Arizona, you can still always see a storm coming, and you can watch it miss you, and be like, it's pouring 100 yards that way, like not even, just like,
it's just this column of gray.
Yeah.
And I tried to get that. I tried to capture that in the novel, because it's a unique thing to these really arid climates, that you can just look across this flat expanse and just see this column coming out of the cloud. In places where it's more built up or it's more hilly, it's more difficult to see that coming. It'll just kind of be on you in a second.
Yeah.
But out west, or even here, closer to the beach, it's coming, and you can see it, you can smell it, and you can hear it, and then you can see the lightning coming in, and like 3:00 in the afternoon in the middle of summer, and the storms have built up and they're just rolling around the top of the tablelands, and I'm like, if it wasn't so hot, I'd be so in love right now. But it's so hot, it's oppressively hot.
Yeah.
You can't think, you don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to hit, it's like walking around in soup.
Yes.
Breathe through soup. It's ridiculous.
Oh, man. That's interesting that it's 3:00 when the thunderstorms roll in there too, because that is absolutely, like, in Colorado, you can practically like time, like you can set your clock off of it. You're like, oh, it's thunder and lightning and a whole shit ton of rain, maybe some hail. It must be 3 p.m. Like,
yeah, and it would always be when you'd be trying to pick up the kids from school, because it's just the humidity's built all day, and then it just cracks.
Yeah. And
that's when it happens, and you're always trying to get, kids are trying to get home from school, and it's passing it down. So always 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. That's cool. It's interesting. It's the same time. I mean, it makes sense just in terms of like how the heat builds and the pressure changes, but that's cool. Very consistent. Okay, new topic. Your floof.
Oh, Tiberius.
Yeah, Tiberius. Reminds me of my childhood cat. He's fluffier than my childhood cat, but he looks like his fur patterning is very, very similar.
Yeah.
Coloration, etc., and his eye color. Please tell me more about Tiberius. I love
He is a blue bicolor ragdoll.
Ooh.
And he was, what is he, 6? I think he's 6 on Christmas Day. And he's half sassy, half just a big sop pit. Like most people's cats, you go over to their house and they just they're like, new person, and they run away. He will come out and flop down in front of you and roll over like, worship me, human person. And my son and my mum were watching something about Egyptian mythology and Egyptian archaeology, because that's what we do as a family, apparently.
Sounds cool.
And Hadrian's like, there's a cat god. And they were like, yeah, there is. And he's like, does that mean Tibby's a god? And we're like, well, yeah, kind of. And he's like, he's the god of this house. And yeah, he is. And he climbed in on me this morning, and there was no chance of me getting up or moving. And I eventually had to, because I had to get ready for this, and I got the worst stink eye. He was like, what are you doing? How rude. Why hate you? And he came out and he stood at the end of the hallway while I was getting something to eat. He was like, I hate you. I could just see it in his eyes. But he's very cool.
Yeah.
And
well,
he lives here.
Give him my sincere apologies for having.
I will see. I mean, that's if he's talking to me.
Yeah. That's fair. I don't really blame him. Not for not talking to you, but just for being upset at the general state of a world in which someone had to get up and leave him. Yeah.
Bed. Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of people getting up, it looks like Misty is leaving us for the night. Good night, Misty. We'll see you next time. I think we might have already missed her, but we still have plenty of time. These are generally running like an hour and a half, so I'm definitely not cutting us off for another 20 minutes at the earliest, and we can really just keep going because who's gonna stop us? We make our own rules here at CornCon Cubed. So you know what, we are kind of already covered number 9 in question number 1, so I think we can skip that one. It's about love and borders not mixing well, but I feel like we've thoroughly covered how annoying it is moving back and forth between countries. Let's okay, you know what, it's finally time. We're gonna talk about books.
For anyone who is here, we're going to talk about books the whole time. Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. If anyone thought that these interviews were actually about
book interviews,
no. Books are a side note. In the midst of just talking about random stuff with authors. And it's not even. my plan is to not only interview authors, but also interview comic writers and filmmakers and actors, and cosplayers, but so far I've just been interviewing my author buddies because because you guys were here. You were here and it was easy to ask.
And we'll do anything you ask.
Yeah, you want to talk?
We'll do it. We'll do it. We're there.
But let's talk about books. Blood of Heirs is really an excellent book. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And you please hold it up, let everyone see it. And it did really well in the 5th annual Spiffbo competition.
Did you badly? I was a bit surprised.
Dude, I mean, it was almost tied for 2nd. It's just barely 3rd.
I mean, it to come 3rd to those books was wow. I think we had some of the highest scores in the competition overall, since it started, and I'm hoping that that's just going to keep going, that each progressive competition is going to attract higher and higher quality content. So but I thought because Graham was the big push for that. He's like, you have to put it in Spiffbo, and I was like, I mean, it's eligible, okay, cool, let's do that. And then there was all the jokes about, what happens if we both end up as finalists, and what happens, and we never ended up having to have that fight. But I didn't think that it would be a semi-finalist. I didn't think it would be a finalist. I certainly didn't think it was going to finish in the top 3. So I just kept waiting for the moment that someone said, ha ha ha, we figured you out. You're not supposed to be here. You sneaky girl. Your book's not good enough to be here. You just dazzled us with your cover. And you couldn't see anything after that, so we just put it through. But no, it was cool. It was a very stressful competition, but it was very fun as well. And that was 100% because of the finalist group that we ended up in because of you. this group that started because we were going to do a promo, and then all of a sudden we ended up, supporting each other through the apocalypse. Yeah. So that was a thing. Yeah. Fully grateful for that, because I don't think I could have survived it otherwise.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the number of times you guys have saved my sanity is I've lost track.
Because there's always someone awake, right? Yeah. There's always someone awake that you can talk to. But I didn't expect the second phase to be as stressful as it was in Spiffbo. I think I felt like we would just get the reviews would just come out and it'd be like, I think the other thing was that there were reviews that were being held back for higher rated books. Yeah. And we're all kind of sitting there going, okay, at what point are these going to come out? And it was just really coming down to the wire, and it was very, very tense, and I'm sure very exciting for the people watching the competition from the outside, but from like, I felt like we were in the green room just like tearing ourselves apart, going like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was actually it was kind of a relief to get Blade's Edge, like have so many of its scores in earlier because it was on the lower end, and then just be done and like, okay, cool. It's very clear that Blade's Edge is not going to win, so I'm chilling.
Yeah, you could just sit back and watch then.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, I think the last review for Airs came in on the very last day.
Yeah.
It may have been the very last I don't know if it was my very last review that came in very last, or if it was Angela's very last one.
It was Angela's, I think.
Angela's was the absolute last one, but they were very close together.
And that was because, and then there's a little bit of weirdness around because they had like somebody jumped on and was like, Miracle wins!
Announced Miracle is the winner, and not all of the reviews were in yet.
Like, oh, there's still one more review.
Awkward.
Yeah.
So that was a big day.
That
was an emotional day because I had there was other stuff going on for me as well. So with the whole border closures and COVID-19 and fuck, I don't know what else there was. I think I drank at 11 o'clock in the morning. Was that not also the day that they closed, like they canceled your flights? Or it was the day after or something.
Something like that. It was pretty close. It was pretty close to when they canceled your flights.
Yeah, it was there was just thing after thing after thing after thing, and then that happened, and it was it's like you built up all of this energy and all these stress hormones over a 6-month period, and then all of a sudden it was just crash at the end. And I think I slept really, really hard the next day after it was over. And then I think a couple of days before that, Julia messaged me and she was like, would you like to judge for Fantasy Faction? And I'm like, yeah, why not?
I love that was your reaction. You're like, is this really stressful? Yeah, fine. We'll just try it.
This is so super stressful, and I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. Yes, give me more. Give me more. But I'm on the other side of it now. So
it's a different stress factor. Potentially less stressful at the end because you'll have already read everything. You're not going to be the last person reading books trying to get your score in. So. No.
The interesting thing is that the way that Fantasy Faction work is that we don't necessarily have to read any more than we want to of anything. So it's if you're just not feeling it, put it aside, write down some thoughts and whatever and move on. Yeah. And then once we have to have five of us have to have read it before and given a score under 5 out of 10 before it can be cut. So that's why our group tends to take longer to deliver a group of people who've been eliminated and work through. So because some of us started, I started with the shorter books first, and then other people will just work through alphabetically. Some people will start with the books that they think they're least likely to like from the blurbs. Other people will start with the ones that they think that they will like the most from the blurbs. So it's all of us are kind of approaching it differently. I don't know, maybe we should have had a uniform way of choosing our order of reading, but
I mean it's sort of I don't know that there's any uniform way to do it that makes sense, except you want to not.
Blog does it differently. Some blogs will split up the books according to who they think
will enjoy.
Amanda's it was my idea to invite you to be a judge.
Yeah, I saw that.
So some groups will divvy up the books amongst the readers according to what they think that person will like. So they'll try and pair it with somebody who they think is more likely to enjoy that content. Others will it's just a random, here's your books, here's your books, here's your books.
Yeah.
And you need to pick a semi-finalist out of that group, and you pick a semi-finalist and you pick one, and then we'll go from there about who the finalist is. So there isn't really a uniform way. Some people will prefer to listen to audiobooks over reading them. So if you've got audiobooks, that's a really cool thing to try and provide to the judges if you're going to put it in. But one of the things that's come back, and I know it was talked about in our round and it's definitely being talked about now, is really poor formatting and really poor editing. And I cannot stress that enough of how distracting it is, certainly for someone like me who is I'm autistic. I can't help it. That's who I am.
Yeah.
If I can't see order and cleanliness and it's clean and, you know, whatever in the file that I'm reading, I can't read it.
Yeah.
So like maybe don't submit your print PDF for when you've been asked to submit a Mobi file, which is what you can download from Amazon for your book. So definitely don't be submitting your book if you're literally rushing to get it in. Like wait till next year. Like there's no time period. You can enter a book that's 10 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Blades Edge was out for ages, wasn't it?
Blades Edge was published in January of 2015.
Yeah, absolutely no. You can have had this thing out for years.
Yeah, as long as you haven't entered it before, you can enter it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's not like you have to have entered it in the year that it had to be published the year before or whatever.
Right. So
just take your time and make sure that you are 100% ready to submit this document. And even saying that, since the competition's finished, I went back through Blood of Airs and reread it. And the pages of stuff I needed to fix was just embarrassing. But it happens to everybody.
It happens to everybody, yeah.
It happens
and the things that you needed to fix, like there were actually only
they were niggles.
There were the usual handful of like actual typos. And then most of the stuff that you had to fix out of your list was stuff that you were like, oh, I should, you know.
Yeah, like punctuation, that should be a comma.
Just like
that should be a full stop. You know, it wasn't stuff like huge paragraph changes or massive formatting things because, you know, I pay a formatter and she's amazing.
Yeah.
So if I ever need to do changes, it goes back to her. So she's great. But yeah, absolutely. If you're not 100% that document is ready to go and that you would be happy for that to be seen by the entire world, don't submit it. Wait till next year. I cannot stress that enough.
But I will also say that is a pitfall of new indie publishers in general.
Yes.
Because I have read outside of Spiffbo a number of indie books. And actually I've read with a couple of trad arcs as well. And part of me is like, dude, what? Like you guys are professional publishing house. We're talking big 5 publishers have send out arcs that are improperly formatted, and
you should be employing someone to do that.
This irks me.
Secondary thing. Yeah. Because it doesn't allow you to go into the story.
Right.
You're stopping
it throws you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that shouldn't be the reason that I'm not being able to get into the story, because that means I'm not going to give the story time to grow on me and for me to get in there. And sometimes you get a slow burn book that doesn't really, like Airs is a bit like that. It doesn't really get going for a while. It takes a little while to move. And
I was engaged with it. I felt it was engaging right away. But
it's about like there's people out there that like loved it from page 1. There's other people that are like, it took me a while to really sink in, and then once I got in there I couldn't get back out again.
Yeah.
But if they're seeing bad editing, bad formatting, all that sort of stuff from the start, you've just thrown up a wall.
Yeah.
And that's you're never going to get those people back. They're never going to go and spend their money on one of your books again.
Right.
If that's the product you delivered to them in the first instance. And I guess that's where I come from with that.
And I think that's legit. It might just be part of the way my brain works, and maybe our brains are similar this way, but to me it's like trying to read with nails going down a chalkboard at the same time, right? Like the poor formatting is just a constant distraction. So the level of quality of the writing to get me past it, if the formatting is bad, has to be like insanely high. Like there are very few books I can think of that I would be able to read through despite poor formatting. Like even my all-time favorite books, I think I'd be like, I'm sorry,
I can forgive a lot of things, and I can get used to a lot of quirks within a story if everything else is clean and well formatted and all that sort of stuff. But if I'm having to try and work out if you're talking about the same character because you changed the spelling of a name, that's probably not. It's probably not ready.
Yeah.
But like Amanda has just said in the comments, it comes out of Trad Pub as well. And I think there's the Self Pub or Indie Pub gets a bad rap for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's entirely fair,
Nope.
given that it exists in traditional published books that you can walk into a bookstore and buy off a shelf, and you're paying $30-$40 Australian for a hardcover. And it's as full of errors as, I think, is it Devon? Is like, there's this running joke on Twitter at the moment that on the first page of We Ride the Storm, the new tripod version of that, there's literally a spelling mistake on the first page. I had punctuation errors on the first page of Blood of Airs, but it happens. It happens. People get book blind and they can't see it anymore.
The Harry Potter books all have at least a dozen typos in every single one of them, like from book 1 to book 7. And I don't know if that's true in later editions. I read them all as first editions, but they absolutely all went to print with at least 10 typos in them. And that is the level, like, if my books go to print with 10 typos in them, I'm like, that's fine. That is literally the publishing standard. Like, if you have made it so there are only 10 typos in the entire 100,000 word book, you're doing great. And so it irks me when anyone reading or reviewing an indie book is like, oh, I found a typo on page 57, so they should really clean this up. And you're like, no, dude, that's like, you would not have said that if this were a trad book.
Exactly.
And it's exactly the same number of errors that are in a trad book.
I do think that's something that we get pinned for a lot, and I don't think that that's entirely fair.
No. That said, there are a lot of, I think it's all new. It's new authors. I'm sorry, I've interrupted you again. This is the problem with me having a beer before interviewing. Is I'm like my dog.
No, it's okay. No, I was looking at Amanda's going, this is because editing is hard, proofreading is harder. And and I mean, I know I edit, I do proofreading and editing for other people. And if someone wants me to do a structural edit, I will not do the proofread.
Right.
I cannot and I will not do both, because they need someone to come in with fresh eyes after I've been through it, because there will be stuff I've missed. There will be stuff that I didn't get right. There will be punctuation that I've put in there that shouldn't be in there. There will be double words or half written words, because I'm, especially the really long books, like once I get to like 150, 160,000 word books, like that's exhaustion level for me. So, and I can't work on anything else when I'm editing, because it takes so much effort. Editing is exhausting. It is physically and emotionally exhausting, and it takes a lot of time to do right. And if you're trying to do it on a budget, I mean, even I can't even price my editing to cover my costs, because it would be so exorbitant that no one could ever afford it. So you are always, as an editor, having to undercut yourself just so people can afford to pay you to do the work. I won't be doing any editing for at least the next 6 months, because I physically can't. I have to focus on my own writing for a while. But it's, as much as I say, edit, format, like, I fully understand how hard those things are, because I've done both sides of the coin on that one.
No, and they're hard to manage. You really have to hire someone else to do them, and then it's tough to find someone that's affordable. And like, personally, for Blade's Edge, I ran a Kickstarter for that, and thus was able to actually properly pay my editor, who has been kind enough to work on it, like a deal with me ever since then. I still owe my editor a bunch of money, basically. It's like I pay her in installments based on how my books are doing. And
my current editor is like, I'm totally gonna give you a discount next time, because I like your book so much. I'm like, but should you? Like, really? Because it's gonna be a long book. I mean, it's gonna cost me a lot of money, and she's absolutely worth every cent. But it's also hard to find an editor that works well for you and gets your work and gets your voice, because in a way it's kind of like method acting. You have to sink into this. You have to get into the author's head and get into the characters' voices to understand and go, would this character actually do this? Does this make sense for this character? Am I giving an example of a way that this could be changed in the correct voice for the story? And that is exhausting, and it does take a while to kind of find the right person for you. And I don't think there should be anything wrong with saying that this editor didn't isn't 100% right for me right now, or isn't the right choice right now. It doesn't mean that they're a bad editor or they're a bad person. It just means that I need someone who can do this particular thing or whatever.
And so much of it is about voice. Like you need an editor who either enjoys or works well enough with your style of writing specifically, and like your voice, to not change that, right? Because there are a number of editors who are excellent editors, but if they are trying to edit for I'm trying to think of an author who I don't know, uses way more description than I do, right? Like Brandon Sanderson's editor is probably not the right editor for me.
And like somebody who is used to doing a lot of romance is probably going to want things from the characters in, say, my stories that I'm not going down that road.
Right.
You know, if a romance develops between my characters, well, that's fine, but I'm not writing a romance.
Right.
That's not my lane.
Yeah.
And so if I'm looking for an editor, I need to be looking for an editor who works on stuff that's very similar to mine.
Right.
Because they're going to understand what I'm trying to do, and they're going to understand the way that those books are structured and how they work. Whereas somebody who is used to doing novellas, or somebody who's used to doing sci-fi, or somebody who's used to doing literary stuff just won't, if that's not their lane, then they're going to really struggle to feel the work the way that they need to. But I'm very happy with my current editor. I think she's amazing. So
that's great. That's good. It's
I need to actually write the book so she can edit it.
Always the trick, right?
Yeah.
No, I love my editor, and she's great, and she's an excellent editor for me and my writing, because she enjoys my stuff. I feel like that's kind of a requisite piece. Like if your editor doesn't enjoy your work, you're gonna have a hard time doing that. And I've like the editing that I've done, I have only offered to do for authors whose work I enjoy. Because otherwise, I mean, as an editor, it's too much work to not.
It's a slog.
Right? To be reading this thing and not enjoying it, and then fixing it, and then but I know
you're not enthusiastic about it. If you're loving it, you're not enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. And then it's hard to make those choices too, right? If it's not something that you generally dig, then you're like, well,
what's usual for this genre? What's usual for this subgenre? Like if I'm not used to reading it, then I can't make judgment calls on that.
Yeah.
Or give advice to the author about what I think, the road that I think that they should go down.
Yeah.
So it is really important to find the right person. And sometimes that means going through a lot of editors.
Yeah.
Like
which is fair. I mean,
it's fine. That's a fine thing to do. Don't stick with somebody that you're not 100% happy with just for the sake of being nice. To them. Like just be honest and just say, you know, I'm not sure that this is working out or whatever. But
I mean, I think that's a big part of why every editor that I have either started to work with or considered working with usually will do sample pages, and that's a test for both of you, right? Like that should be, the editor should be looking at your work and being like,
is it ready?
Do I actually want to work on this?
Right. Is it me to actually touch it yet? Because sometimes you'll get work sent to you that just isn't ready.
Yeah. Right. For the level of editing you're being asked for, right? They're like, you want me to copy edit, but this still needs a developmental edit. Or you want me, So
or it needs like a lot more drafts. Tibby. Tiberius.
If he wants to come in and sit on your lap, that's fine with me.
Come on. Come here. Tibby.
Okay, so while we're talking, we're talking about writing. So I'm going to go ahead and look, because there were some questions about writing.
Yeah.
So Jeff says, as you are working toward the third book, has any aspect of the storyline changed from what you had originally envisioned?
Oh God, it happens.
Amanda asked that question.
Just because when I'm working on all those planning notes early on, I'm generally working on something else. So when I was working on Heirs, I had planning notes that I was just scrabbling down for Legacy. And by the time I got ready to write, are you coming in here or not? Oh God. By the time I got to writing Legacy, I had sort of like this big plan, but then when I actually sat down, it would organically kind of veer off and do certain things, you know, it would grow on its own. So there's a lot of note planning that I had about things that I thought was going to happen and just never did. So it's a different version of the same story. But a lot of the really core stuff that I set out to tell the story of in Heirs is still there. Like that really deep running foundation is still there. The stuff that's changed is the surface stuff.
Right.
Oh my God. Tiberius Jethro.
I love that his name is Tiberius Jethro.
I can name the cat. Oh my God. Yeah, so a lot of those storylines have changed. I wasn't sure if I was going to end up just continuing on with 2 point of view characters or if there was going to be more, and there is going to be more in Empire. So mostly because at some level, you know, there has to be a creative choice made between, you know, there are 2 people who are now going to be spending a lot more time in the same place. And there's stuff happening elsewhere.
Right.
And we need to know what that is. And they're not there. So, yeah, so that's going to be fun writing point of view characters that I haven't written in a while or ever. So, and they are fun people, mostly because they are people that other people have strong opinions about.
Oh, yeah.
And I quite like them for my own reasons. But yeah, people have strong opinions. But then there's characters that I thought were going to be sideline characters that might pop in for a couple of scenes, and then now they're major secondary characters,
right, that
I never intended to even have in the story, and where I thought parts of the story were going to go. Jeff, I've only read the second book twice. Jeff and my mum have the record for the most number of reads of Blood of Heirs. Amazing. So yeah, like mum's copy of Blood of Heirs is like wrecked. I feel like it's going to fall apart. I think I put a photo of it on Instagram the other day. I did see it. Yeah, it's all the laminates all curled up on the edges and stuff. So yeah, secondary characters that became really important to the story and really interesting people has been something that I didn't expect. So, but I like that part. I think people think that if you're a planner, that means that you're welded to this scaffold and you must stay there. And that's not what planning is. Planning is getting a vision of where you think the story is going to go, and then walking the pathway. And sometimes you're going to come across things that mean that you have to deviate. Yeah. And as long as you get to roughly where you thought you were going to get to, that's fine. It doesn't matter how you got there. But you need to also be able to let that organically happen. So I don't go down into like chapter by chapter planning detail. Yeah. It's more like, I think we used to do like skeleton scripts in drama when I was in high school. And they're much more like that. They're much more notes on this is the plot. So-and-so's here, so-and-so's here, this happens, this happens, this happens. They do this, they do that, da-da-da-da-da. And then, like I said, I'll get to a point where I suddenly feel like that urge to write is just overwhelming, and then that's when I will go in and actually physically write the story. Nice. So that's got the maps have got something, you know, the maps are important to that process and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Do you do timelines? Were we talking about this? Are you a timeline person?
I do timelines. I also do like I'll track my chapters across a calendar. So I've got just a basic calendar printed out with the days of the month on it, and I'll have things like this is midsummer and this is so-and-so's birthday and this is so-and-so's birthday. Yeah. And I'll have like chapter 3 is here, and then it's like 3 weeks until chapter 4. And then for Blood of Heirs, I had a calendar for each character. And Legacy, I think I had calendar for each character, and then in Empire I've just got one because I've got too many characters, too many point of view characters now. So I've just got one that's just tracking, so I know exactly what day each chapter happened on, and then if there's a gap of a couple of weeks or whatever, it's all the chapters are color coded in my Scrivener file, and it's all very nerdy, and
that's how we get by. That's how we get by. I am not nearly that organized, but I do have a timeline for each of my universes. But what I like is I actually use Aeon Timeline. I have a program for it, and so I do what you do, but I don't have a paper version of it because I would just lose that. I would never be able to find it again if I had a calendar.
I have this little folder, and it just travels around with me, and it's goes blue tack up on the wall so I can look at it or whatever. And
I really wish I could hold on to something like that, but I am the queen of losing paper. It is a curse. I mean, it's part of my ADHD. It's like I just can't. I cannot hold on to physical things, and So
whereas like my obsessive collecting of, I've found the book that I drew the original draft of my map in the other day.
Yay!
Is it up there? I think it's up there. Hold on.
All right.
No, that's not it.
That's all right.
It's around. It's somewhere. I found it. And I was like, oh my God. That's my first map.
That's awesome.
And from way back when, because I drew that map to go with a story that's never, ever, ever going to see the light of day because it's awful.
Is this the one you were talking about that you wrote in like high school?
Yeah, I started it when I was 15, and I didn't really finish it until I was about 25. So it took me, and I just kept rewriting it and rehashing it and changing this and changing that, and it just became this big knotty mess. But it had the world built into it, and then I tacked on, or I expanded the map, and that's where the Southlands came from. So awesome. I knew the world really, really well at that point by the time I was ready to write that book. So I hope that came across.
I think it did, but yeah, like the setting in Blood of Heirs was very vivid to my imagination. I had one or two concerns about the way you handled some snowy scenes, but other than that.
Because it's snow here is pretty rare, and I've been to the snow. I've seen it many times. But yeah, it's something that you have to kind of, you go there and you see it, and then you have to try and remember how it behaved and what it did, and your experience with what happened with the snow when you were there compared to someone who lives somewhere that snows all the time. It's going to be quite different.
And I'm mostly just teasing. I at this point I can't even remember what it was. I remember that while I was reading and oh God, I've forgotten the boy's name. Ren, yeah. And is in the snow. And what was it? It was something about either deer tracks or horse tracks or something. There was just something about it. And and this is the thing, is it was so unimportant. I just had a moment of being like, oh haha, Alicia's from the desert. She wouldn't know about this thing about snow. And then just kept going. And it did not affect the story in any way. And if I didn't know you personally, I would never even have thought of it, it just was like anyway, but I wish, and now I can't even remember what it was. I wish I'd written it down. It was just something funny. It was not a big deal at all.
You fucked up the snow.
You did something wrong about the snow. Anyway, but Amanda says it sounds familiar. I don't, but actually that was soon enough. She might be talking about something else. At least there's that 20-second lag, so I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But okay, well we're now at an hour and 45 minutes. So I'm going to cut to a few of our other questions here. Except I wanted to give you a chance to talk about how exciting things that are happening with the books.
So I very recently signed a contract with Tantor Media for the rights for the audiobooks. So that's for the whole trilogy. They will be out, at least the first two will be out within the next 12 months. Book 3 obviously is dependent on when I actually finish it and put it out in the world. My intention was always that I was going to go to the UK and I was going to spend 6 months writing, and it was just going to be London, and that didn't happen because, you know, global pandemic apocalypse.
Yeah.
I was sick on and off, and, you know, life happens. So that's my plan over the next few months, is to just write and get that book finished.
That's good.
So that's pretty much it. It's the audiobooks and the finishing book 3, and then my reward for finishing book 3 is that I finally get to go back and finish The Smuggler's Daughter, which is my smuggler spy pirate story that is set out in the archipelago. And I think I said it was like Pirates of the Great Barrier Reef with dragons.
That's amazing. Yes.
It's really the first book that I've actually been able to like condense it down to that kind of thing. And I used a lot of, I wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to be able to have a synopsis from day one for that story, because I've never been able to do that. I've never been able to pre-write a synopsis, and I set out with the purpose of understanding that story from the ground up before I actually started writing it, and understanding my characters' core drives and really punching the conflict between my characters in that story. So I'm really, really, really excited to do that. And now, like, being around at mum and dad's place, we're not that far from the beach. We're about 10-15 minutes from the beach, so, you know, ocean and waves and stuff, and I can actually, you know, write about the reef that's just over there. Yay. So that's cool. That's my reward. Cool. That's my reward.
Excellent. Well, both Jeff and Amanda sound very excited about that book, and I am too. I'm also really excited about, I have waited to read book 2 because I've been needing to be in a better headspace before I read it.
Yeah, I told you you weren't allowed.
Yeah. So once you remove my my block on reading Legacy, I will read that, and then I'm really excited to read book 3 as well. So that's.
I think you're probably almost ready. I think, but just, you know, take it slow, and if it's too much.
Well, I'm gonna try to read A Court of Broken Knives, because I'm gonna be interviewing Anna Smith Spark in a couple weeks, and I have a feeling if I can get through that, then I'll be ready for Legacy.
You might need some downtime after that one, but I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, but A Court of Broken Knives has been on my radar for ages, and I've been meaning to read it, and so I'm excited to read it in order to interview her, and that's going to be really exciting. But hopefully that'll prime me nicely for reading Legacy books.
Yes, you will be ready.
I
had to put sunscreen on while reading the early scenes of The Smuggler's Daughter. I think I sent Jeff some early scenes.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's quite tropical. Hello, Fluffer.
Ah, it is the floof. Tiberius floof.
Come here.
Oh, yay! Tiberius, it's so good to see you, sir. Meow. Oh my gosh, he looks so much like my childhood cat.
Yeah,
he's just longer fur.
He's like, I found you now. Bye.
Yeah, okay, I know where you are.
Go back to bed. So I can sit on you.
He's like, actually, I just stepped in my litter box and I came to wipe my feet on you.
He's so like that.
I feel like that's a very cat thing that you left me this morning, and now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay you back by yelling at you while you're trying to talk to people.
Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a 2-minute lightning round of the last 5 questions.
Amanda.
Cat. Yes, cat. Exactly. Zoom cat. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think we can do that? Do you think we can do the last 5 questions in, let's say 5 minutes? We'll just try to do 5 questions, 5 minutes. Okay. Question 11 is, I don't normally enjoy horror. However, I loved the horror aspects of Blood of Heirs. What led you to write fantasy horror?
I didn't intend to write fantasy horror at all, because I don't ever watch or read horror because I can't handle it, because I'm a sissy girl. But yeah.
Has nothing to do with being a girl, but I just I don't do horror.
I think we watched some horror movies in boarding school, and I think it was like Jeepers Creepers. And so you're a dorm room full of girls and someone screamed and everyone screamed. And then I was like, I'm never watching another horror movie ever again. So I think I just wanted to up the tension and up the ante and have something that was, the Australian bush is a scary place and there are a lot of things that are trying to kill you. And I kind of wanted to build on that by having something that was scary and unknown. And even though these people know the bush like the backs of their hands,
it's still
like,
scary stuff.
This is a thing that is so new and so scary for them that it makes their home almost uninhabitable. Right. So that's where I was going with that. It was never like, oh, I want to just scare people.
Right.
That was not me. My absolute intention was not to terrify people. But hey, if I did.
Woohoo! Yeah. I found a few moments very, very tense and scary, but also but not to the point where I didn't enjoy it anymore. Yeah. And that's I think why I don't read the regular horror genre, is because people are really trying so hard. And so it's either, if it's done well, it's like super scary and I'm like, no thanks, my head's scary enough on its own, or or just like this is just gory. I don't want to do this. It's making me feel icky. Yeah. What's one thing that you would change about the publishing industry if you had a magic wand that would only fix one aspect of it? The dumb wand, but what are you gonna do?
It's probably something that's really, really specific to indie, and it's how Amazon's marketing system works with your advertising, in that there are so many things that you can't see and you can't track against. Right. You know, you're trying to run a business, and in most businesses, if you were paying someone to advertise your product, they would have to say to you, you are paying us X amount of dollars, and this is how we can prove that your ad is being effective or not effective. And I feel like we're throwing money at the wall and nobody can really tell us what works or how the system works. And we're just hoping that something sticks. We can't even tell if a click has converted to a KU download. Right. I don't care about whether it converted to page reads. I could give less of two fucks about that. I just want to know if someone clicked the download button. Right. Because that means someone has looked at it, read the blurb and gone, that's interesting, I'll have that. Yeah. If they never actually get around to reading it, if they don't get around to reading it in 6 months, I don't care. I really don't care about that. Yeah. What I care about is that you're taking my money for the clicks and not actually telling me the whole story about what's going on. Yeah. And you're trying to run a business and you're trying to justify your ad spend against your profits, right? And you can't. It's like you're peering through a curtain or a peephole, and you're only getting part of the picture, and that's very frustrating. Yeah. I also wish that as a little side note, that publishing was a little bit more transparent in general. I think a lot of people outside the industry think that book written equals book published, and it doesn't. It doesn't even equal that. And book written equals book published equals rich author is not a thing. Like, people think that now that I've published my books that I can live off it. Are you kidding me? I can barely afford to like put fuel in a car if I could afford a car. Like it's not a living wage for so many of us. Right. And I'm just very thankful that I have people around me who are willing to support me while I work towards that. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm at work and there's no books. Right. So sitting there and bitching about how an author hasn't produced a book in X number of years or in X amount of time is completely just dismissing how hard the process is and how much work and effort goes into it, and what their life might actually require of them to keep a roof over their head and the heating on. Yep. So, that's something that I wish was a little bit more obvious or well known to the general reading public. True. So, I'm astounded by the number of readers who don't even understand how many of their favorite trad published authors still have day jobs, the fact that that there are plenty of doing in the weekends or in the middle of the night when their kids have gone to bed, or in 5-minute blocks while they're at work or on their lunch break. This is not something that you publish a book and all of a sudden you're a multi-millionaire. It's and even people who have been trad pubbed for decades will put out, there's no guarantee that they're going to get a contract on their next book. There's no guarantee that their contract is going to get enough sales that they're then going to get another contract and another contract. And it's like, imagine having a temp job for X number of months and then not knowing if you're going to get another temp job after that.
Right.
And still having all the same bills and all the same expenses and everything else. So I kind of wish that was more well known outside the industry, because once you get in there, you're like, oh shit. Like this is a little bit different to what I was expecting. I can roll with this, but I kind of wish that I didn't have to explain it to everyone. That's what I feel. I'm having to explain it to people quite a bit. So that's cool.
Yeah. Lots of people don't know how it works. I have I think we've shot our 5 minutes already, so I'm just gonna go with this. But like one of my favorite urban fantasy authors who has been published through, I can't remember which publishing house, but it's a subsidiary of the Big Five for the last decade and a half.
Yeah.
And she has 9 books out in this series. And before the 10th one, they canceled it. They were like, nah, we're not gonna publish you anymore. Sales aren't meeting numbers, etc. But luckily, she had the wherewithal and she has enough followers that, I mean, thank goodness she was maintaining her own Facebook page and stuff, and she had direct contact with a large portion of her fan base. And she'd been self-pubbing little like novellas periodically for the last few years. So she was well set up to be like, okay, F you guys, I'm no longer being published by my publisher, but I am now going to self-pub the last few books of the series because you, my fans, would like to read them. And she's doing it. And so her latest title is indie, even though she's been trad pub for the last.
Forever. I mean, I know of a trad pub author who I grew up reading and admired, and they first book of the trilogy came out in print and ebook, and then the next book they turned around and said, sales aren't good enough on the print book, we're gonna only do an ebook. And she was like, what? Like what? And it threw me as a reader that was something that they would even do, that was where we were at in the industry now. And I guess that's the way that it takes a lot of money to produce a book. And that's the other thing that I think people don't quite understand about publishing, is that to produce a book, ebook or otherwise, takes a lot of time and effort and money. And that's even if you're doing it on a tight budget. To then physically pay for the copies.
Yeah.
Like this costs me money to order in. Like I don't just get a box of these for free and then I can just give them away to people. That's not how it works. Even my author copies I have to pay for.
Yeah.
So because I have to pay the printer, I have to pay the cover artist, I have to pay the editor. Like these cost me money, not just in buying the physical copy, but in the production of it. Yeah. So I think
the overhead
ebook is free. Like it should be free because it didn't cost you anything to make. I'm like, actually no.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, sorry.
Also, it's my living. If the ebook is free, then I don't get to eat.
Yeah, like sure, I'll you don't work for, you can't eat exposure, you die from it. Like that's how it works. Like don't ask authors to write for free.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to sell something for charity. Yeah. And it's a charity that the author feels passionately about, that's a very different story. But you're asking somebody to essentially, like if I wanted you to go to work, person who is asking me to do that, if I wanted you to go to work for free for a week, would you do it?
No.
Like just for the exposure of being at work, like to impress your boss? No, you wouldn't do that. You'd be like, go get fucked. I've got bills to pay. I'm like, sorry, that's the response that you're going to get from people who have woken up to this exposure culture.
Yeah.
That we should be grateful that we're being asked to do a project. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like I have to commit myself to things that I can actually use to pay my bills and pay for my kid and to be able to do things with him. Like this stuff's important. And that was my rant for the day.
No, that's a good one. I appreciate that rant. I don't like it when people ask authors to write for free unless it's for a charity, and even then, as long as they're just very happy to hear no, that's fine, right? Like,
people have things on, and they can't always commit. It's not just as easy for some people. Punching out a few thousand words is easy hours. For other people, it takes a long time. Yeah. It's not easy to do, so be considerate of that.
Yeah. Yep. What is your preferred animal sidekick in a fantasy setting?
I think I'm going to do something like fundamentally boring, like a dragon. Mostly because I just love dragons. But I kind of like. We watched Frozen 2 a few weeks ago with the kids, and there's this little fire salamander, a little fire gecko thing, and I'm like,
adorable.
That is my spirit animal. I love it. I want more. Give me all of them. Did Amanda ask a question about animals, Australian animals? Are dingoes dogs or are they marsupials? They're dogs. They're dogs.
Dingoes are
but they're like a native dog that came over here tens of thousands of years ago, I think. And they will try and eat your children.
Yes.
So if you go to Fraser Island where there's lots of dingoes, I've had friends that have gone over there camping and they're like, we woke up and the dingo was trying to get into the kids' tent and was trying to eat all the food. And I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm not going there. So they're quite...
they're wild dogs. Like they're...
Yeah. Basically, yeah. And then obviously domestic dogs have gotten out and gone feral and bred into the population. So Fraser Island is one of the few places, maybe one of the only places in Australia where they're like genetically pure. They haven't been interbred with more domesticated dogs that have come in since Europeans arrived. So yes, they're definitely dogs. Definitely dogs. And they have a really creepy like howl.
Oh yeah.
It's very, very spooky. It's very spooky.
Nice. I feel like I have to say, just because I said it when Levi said use the term spirit animal,
yes.
Yeah, that word that because there are a number of Indigenous groups for whom that's a really important thing, to try to not use it casually. If being outside the group, I'm still working on that myself. So, but I said Levi did the same thing in his interview because I asked a similar question and he used the same term in his response. And I mentioned
phrases that you use and then you go.
Right, because we've been saying it for a while in ignorance, and now trying to correct for it, and I do it all the time, and it's not like it's just I feel like I should mention it just for the sake of the audience more than anything else. And
I shall rephrase that into that. The animal was an animal that I felt intimately connected with.
Yes.
On a emotional level.
Yeah. Totally.
Cool.
I totally have done that myself, and I struggle. Yeah, it's hard, right? Because we're trying to retrain ourselves after lifetimes of
generations. Still learning.
That's okay.
That's right now.
Still learning. Me too. We are all still learning. That is, yep. Anyway, okay. So what is? No. Whoop. How did I end up in Levi's questions? That's weird. Okay. What's your favorite class in D&D or World of Warcraft, whichever you are more familiar with?
I think I've played Rangers more than anything.
Yeah, solid.
I've really only played two. I played a lot of Zombie Side, which is kind of already set up. Your characters are already set up for you, and you just pick one. And you're like, okay, I'm going to play that character today.
Yeah.
But I played D&D, and I ended up being like an assassin.
Nice.
So that was cool. I had some pretty cool weapons and stuff, but apparently I have this habit, and I blame my group mates, my party mates, because they will run into a fight and I'm standing there and my weapons are arrows. And I'm like, you're in my way and I'm trying to take my turn, and if I miss they get shot and it's my fault. And I'm like, you could have just stood back and let me deal with the thing, and then if I stopped being able to deal with the thing, you could run in there and deal with the thing, you know? Like, just let me do my thing first from a range.
Not enough people appreciate that in D&D you can prepare an action as part of your turn. And then you get a bonus action the next turn.
And I'm like, you can just let me kind of.
If everyone prepares and lets the ranged attackers take on the first wave, then you're well established to do the next thing. Come on, people.
Absolutely. I know. And then I would get yelled at for for shooting people. When hello, Hadrian.
I'm just a knob.
You just you would I would get yelled at for shooting people in the back. But then because I'm still learning my characters and what their powers are and stuff, then I realized that all the times I shot them in the back with I had this special power that meant I couldn't shoot my own teammates. Like, I was that good. And the game was a lot easier after that because I could shoot like indiscriminately into the fray, and it was fine. So I definitely like the ranger types. I think Graham's played like a lawful evil wizard or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but he seems to talk to a weird kind of crow creature that and they're doing sinister things while pretending not to be doing sinister things. So probably the ranger.
That's solid. I like rangers too. And to me it makes sense having, like, I feel like the rangers in the Chloradic series are,
which is hilarious because I had never encountered D&D on a specific, I knew nothing about the classes when I was writing. If someone had said, oh, this reminds me of such and such a D&D, I'm like, that's cool, because I
don't play. Never heard of it.
I hadn't played until I went to the UK, and that was 6 months ago.
Gotcha.
That was in December, so these books were well and truly out and planned and everything before I even got close to that. So, hey, buddy.
But it transfers. And then my very last question.
Hey, G. I've got one more question.
Amanda also says that she prefers Ranger. And my last question, which is of course very important, is what is the movie that you quote most often with your friends?
At the moment, I'm quoting Mandalorian a lot. Like, this is the way.
This is the way.
Or Unspoken. So that's a good one. There's a few Lord of the Rings quotes that come out, a few Marvel quotes that come out. I can't really say that I have like a one that I use all the time.
Okay.
I tend to kind of pick and choose. It's like someone asking me what my favorite movie is, and I'm like, out of a group of movies or all movies ever, because I can't make that choice. I'm sorry.
That is an impossible choice.
I had a Pikachu. I had a Pikachu.
Where's the Pikachu? You have to go and find it.
Pikachu.
Oh God, you're gonna have to go and play Pokemon soon.
That seems fair. Well, that was the last question, so I feel like we can pretty safely wrap this up. I don't think
you've covered all bases here.
Here in the last 2 hours, I think we've finally
2 hours.
Stormtrooper bases?
No, not stormtrooper bases. We blow them up.
Yeah, we don't cover those except with ground fire. But I think we're probably good. I don't even know if anybody's watching anymore. It looks like we still have a few people watching. So.
A couple people.
This was delightful. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Let's see, I know your books are all on Amazon. Are they also available elsewhere, or are they Amazon only?
All the ebooks are Amazon exclusive.
All the ebooks?
All the ebooks. No, I don't have any ebooks, sadly. So all the ebooks are on Amazon, and they're also available on KU, Kindle Unlimited. The paperbacks and the hardcovers are available through Amazon as well, but also through Booktopia and all of those other bookstore websites. Waterstones and Smiths and all those ones. The audiobooks, when they do come out, will be available across all platforms.
Woohoo.
So iBooks and all of that. So yeah.
Amazing.
Get online.
So everyone should go find those. The link to the Koreidic Saga is, am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Koreidic Sagas.
Koreidic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
So the links the Amazon link to the Koreidic Saga is in the description of this video. So please go check those out. You can follow Alicia on Twitter. Do you have an author page on Facebook?
Just my Facebook profile.
Just your actual Facebook.
Yeah.
And I assume you have a website.
Yes, I do. AliciaWanstall-Burke.com.
There we go.
I've just recently updated it, so there's the drop down boxes and stuff. So I'm quite proud of that at the moment. It actually looks like it was made by a real life human rather than someone with a crayon. Yeah. That's
Are you saying that people with crayons aren't real humans?
I mean, they're maybe I should have said a real life adult.
No, I don't know. I was just picturing all children as different creatures. Yeah, but
yeah.
alien with a crayon.
Did my
Ewok with a crayon.
Yeah.
Dingo with a crayon.
Or a
droid with a crayon.
Droid with a crayon. Pit droid.
Or an R2 unit with a droid.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for those guys.
Yeah. They're not great. They're not great at web design. R2 units. Well, it was really. This has been a pleasure. It's been so much of a pleasure that we've gone about half an hour past what we normally do for the interviews. So no, don't apologize. It was lovely. I enjoyed every minute of it, and hopefully the audience does too. Yeah. So thanks again. And I'm gonna end the stream, and then we can talk again for a second, so we can say goodbye awkwardly by ourselves.